Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely unpack the structural blueprint of the United States government. If you've ever wondered exactly how the country manages to keep power in check while running a literally massive nation, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to look at how three totally distinct parts work side by side just to keep the whole system balanced.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We're starting with what government actually does, then hitting the legislative branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch, and finally wrapping up with how they balance the power.
All right, Section 1. What does government do? Understanding the rules of the game. Just imagine a game where one single person writes the rules, plays the game, and then acts as the referee. It wouldn't be very fair, right? The government's core job is really just to provide structure and ensure a functioning society. But to actually pull that off without descending into tyranny, the U.S. government takes this absolutely massive job of running the country and slices it up into highly specific, manageable roles. That way, no single entity is holding all the cards. Moving right along to Section 2, the legislative branch, making the laws.
So, the legislative branch is basically the starting line for the entire government apparatus. Before any action is taken, or really before any policy is enforced at all, it's got to be drafted and agreed upon right here. This branch is responsible for debating the needs of the country and literally writing the framework that our whole society operates within.
And the real-world face of all this lawmaking power is Congress. They're the who behind the what, if you will. You can think of Congress as the engine that debates, drafts, and ultimately passes the legislation shaping the nation. Basically, whenever a new rule is born, it starts with them.
Which brings us to Section 3, the executive branch, carrying out the laws.
Because think about it, a law written on a piece of paper is really just ink until you have a mechanism to bring it to life. And that is the entire purpose of the executive branch. They take that legislation created by Congress and they actually put it into action on the ground. It's all about execution and active enforcement.
Right at the helm of this branch is the president. As the chief executive, the president leads the charge in carrying out the laws of the land. Their job is ensuring that those theoretical rules drafted by the legislative branch actually become a reality all across the country.
And now, Section 4, the judicial branch, interpreting the laws. Now, as we all know, even the most carefully written legislation can be kind of ambiguous, or it might accidentally conflict with other rules. So when disputes pop up over what a law actually means in a very unique situation, that's exactly where the judicial branch steps in. They exist to be the ultimate neutral arbiter, really looking at the rule, explaining its precise meaning, and ultimately delivering a fair decision. At the absolute peak of this branch sits the Supreme Court. When a case requires the final word on constitutional meaning, or if a dispute just needs to be settled at the absolute highest level of our system, it arrives right here. They are, for sure, the ultimate referees. Finally, Section 5, balancing the power. Why three branches?
So this brings us right back to the solution to our earlier problem, preventing total control. By giving each branch a very specific, limited role, the system naturally prevents any single group from seizing absolute power. It's really a brilliant even split. Because the lawmakers can't enforce the rules, and the enforcers can't judge them, they are literally forced to rely on each other. They work in tandem, but they remain fiercely separate.
When you put the whole shebang together, the separation is perfectly symmetric. You've got law creation in Congress, execution by the president, and interpretation by the Supreme Court. This triad maps out the entire flow of how the United States government functions at its highest levels. It creates this amazing system of shared friction that ultimately protects the public.
Now you might be wondering, why does this matter to me? Well, understanding this structure is absolutely crucial because it actually decodes the daily news for us. It's so easy to look at headlines and just see the government as one giant confusing monolith. But when you filter the world through these three separate branches, the chaos actually starts to make sense. You instantly know who's writing the rules, who's enforcing them, and exactly who is resolving the disputes. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to consider. If power wasn't perfectly separated into these three distinct branches, whose rules would you be living by today? It really highlights just how crucial this shared system of power actually is. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and keep questioning how the structures around you shape your world.